All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, most mind-bending concepts in the Bible, the final judgment. We're going to visualize what the scriptures describe as the literal last day of all human history.
You know, for such a massive cosmic event, it really all comes down to one super personal question. When it's all said and done, where are you going to be standing? Where am I?
So to get our heads around this, here's our roadmap. We're going to look at how everyone gets gathered together, what the one big dividing factor is, what kind of evidence is actually used, what the final verdicts are, and maybe most importantly, what this judgment is really all about.
Okay, so how does this whole thing kick off? Well, the first stage isn't just another event. The scriptures paint this picture of the absolute end of history, where every single person who has ever lived is brought together before this throne of glory.
The process itself is laid out in three really clear, universal steps. First, there's a summons, and it goes out to everyone, the living, the dead, everybody. Second, everyone is resurrected, and we're not talking about ghosts here, but actual physical bodies. And third, that's when the judgment begins, and it's based on what a person did during their life.
Now this is a really crucial detail. The resurrection itself isn't a one-size-fits-all deal. Right from this moment, two totally different paths appear. There's what's called a resurrection of life, and then there's a resurrection of judgment.
So, you've got everyone gathered, everyone resurrected. What's the one thing that splits all of humanity in two? Well, that brings us to the central, most important dividing line in this entire process.
The scriptures point to one single item, the book of life. It's not described as some complicated ledger of good versus bad deeds. It's just a list of names. And your name is either in that book or it's not. That's it. That's the absolute standard. And this division, it's final, irreversible. The famous analogy you've probably heard is a shepherd separating his sheep from the goats. It's a clear, deliberate separation based entirely on that one single thing: is your name in the book?
So the big question is, what determines if your name gets written in the book of life in the first place? This is where the source material shows a really sharp contrast. We're not just talking about two different destinies, but two completely different kinds of lives.
This table really nails the difference, doesn't it? On one side, you have a living faith, one that actually produces real, tangible acts of love and shows a genuine connection with God. But on the other side, you have a dead faith, where maybe the message was heard, but it never really connected, never took root. And the result is a life that lacks those actions of love, which ultimately means a state of separation. And that's why the symbolism of being on the right side is so powerful. In the Bible, Christ is described as being at the right hand of God, so being on the right literally represents being in spiritual union with Him.
This separation leads us right to the final moment, the verdict. And there are only two. They are completely irreversible, and there is absolutely no middle ground.
For that group on the right, the verdict is an invitation. It's not just, okay, you're safe. It's, come and take your inheritance, a kingdom that's been prepared for them since the beginning of time. But for the group on the left, the verdict is the complete opposite. It's a command of total separation. Depart from me into a state of eternal punishment.
So here you can see the two final destinies side by side. The contrast couldn't be more stark. On the one hand, a kingdom of eternal union with God, something planned from day one. And on the other, this lake of fire, a state that's defined purely by total separation from God.
Now here's a crucial point the source material makes. This destination, this place of punishment, wasn't originally intended for human beings at all. It was actually prepared for the devil and his angels. But those who were separated from God end up sharing that same fate.
So this all brings us to the most important question, right? What is this judgment actually measuring? Is it just a big scale weighing your good deeds against your bad deeds? Well, the Bible says not exactly.
It really all boils down to these three key insights. First, good works don't earn you salvation. They're the data, the proof that your faith is real and alive. Second, just hearing the words of the gospel isn't enough. It has to actually connect with your faith to mean anything. And third, the ultimate litmus test is how you treat the most vulnerable people around you. That, right there, shows who or what is truly ruling your heart.
And so this huge, cosmic, end-of-the-world event brings us all the way back to a very simple, very personal question we can ask ourselves today.
This isn't just about some far-off future event, it's a challenge for right now. What kind of faith is my life? What kind of faith is your life proving today?